Emma Carter stood barefoot in the dew-damp grass, smiling at the soft clucks and chirps that came from the coop she'd built with her own hands. 6 hens pecked contentedly at scattered grain and Colonel Clucksworth, her proud Rhode Island, red rooster, stood perched on the edge like a feathered sentry guarding his kingdom. Morning sunlight filtered through the trees, casting golden beams across her suburban backyard. For the first time in months, Emma felt at peace. That peace lasted exactly 3 hours. At 9:02 a.m., a manila envelope was shoved through her mail slot. It bore no stamp, just the all-too-familiar crimson seal of the Willow Ridge Homeowners Association. Emma frowned, pried it open, and unfolded the notice inside. Violation Notice 127 B. Unauthorized livestock presence. You are hereby instructed to remove all backyard livestock immediately. Your property has been observed to include chickens and a rooster in violation of Willow Ridge subdivision regulations. Failure to comply within 48 hours will result in escalating fines. Emma blinked. Backyard livestock. She flipped to the second page, scanning for a clear bylaw reference. It cited a vaguely worded clause about non-domesticated animals not typical to suburban living. Nothing explicitly said chickens. She'd done her research. There was no rule against hens, and roosters weren't even mentioned. A chill prickled her neck. This wasn't about noise. It was about control. She grabbed her phone and called the HOA office. A robotic voice directed her to voicemail. Next, she stormed into the neighborhood's online forum, a gated digital community where gossip and grievances roamed free. Sure enough, a thread had exploded just hours earlier. New neighbor bringing farm to Willow Ridge. Saw a coop from my upstairs window. Loud crowing this morning. Totally inconsiderate. This isn't a petting zoo. What's next? Goats? HOA better do something about this before it gets out of hand. Emma's name was never mentioned, but the tone was clear. Someone had reported her. Or worse, multiple people. She clicked through usernames, noting the ones who commented the most. Thistle, Marla, Tinkerbell 17, and one simply named I Son You. She closed her laptop and sat back, pulse rising. She'd only lived in Willow Ridge for 5 weeks. This was supposed to be her quiet chapter after years in the city. Just chickens. Just peace. Now her chickens were the center of a witch hunt. That night, Emma visited her neighbors door to door. Calmly, politely. Some were sympathetic. Others slammed their doors. A few said nothing, but stared as if she were diseased. At the end of the cul-de-sac, one porch light flicked on as she approached. A man stood just inside the shadows, sipping something from a metal mug. "You're the chicken lady," he said. Emma hesitated. "I'm Emma. I live in 43B. "You shouldn't have brought a rooster," he replied, voice low. "You woke up the wrong people." "Excuse me." The man stepped back into the house and shut the door. That night, unable to sleep, Emma sat at her window with a flashlight and a legal pad, highlighting every line of the HOA documents she'd downloaded. No matter how she read it, chickens weren't banned. Roosters weren't mentioned. They were bluffing. At 4:45 a.m., Colonel Clucksworth let loose a proud, resonant crow. It echoed across the quiet subdivision, like a trumpet blast at dawn. In a pristine kitchen 3 houses away, HOA President Marla Thistle dropped her cup of tea and whispered, "So, she wants to play games." Back at Emma's house, the motion light in her backyard clicked on. Someone was out by the coop. The flashlight beam sliced through the dark like a knife. Emma flung open the back door, her slippers thudding against the porch boards. "Hey, get away from there!" she shouted. By the time she reached the coop, The figure was gone. Only footprints remained, muddied into the grass. The coop was untouched, but the door latch hung open, swinging slightly. Colonel Cluxworth gave a warning cluck, eyes sharp, wings flared protectively around his hens. Emma knelt down, heart pounding. She closed the latch, locked it, and scanned the perimeter. No break-in, no damage, just a message. We're watching. At precisely 6:12 a.m., another notice was slid under her door. This time it was hand-delivered, folded crisply like a summons. Violation notice, 128B, noise disruption, 4:45. Your rooster has caused an undue disturbance in violation of community quiet hours, 10 p.m., 7 a.m. Additional offences will incur daily penalties. Emma stared at the timestamp. The report had been filed at 4:50 a.m., just 5 minutes after the crow. No one could respond that fast unless they were waiting. By 7 a.m., the neighbourhood forum had exploded again, woken by farm animal, again. This is a community, not a barn. She's doing this on purpose. File another complaint. I'm sick of waking up like I'm in the countryside. We should all crow outside her house at 5 a.m. and see how she likes it. The usernames were the same. Tinkerbell17, Ice on You, Thistle Marla. One even posted a blurry photo of Colonel Cluxworth mid-crow. Edited to make him look like a monster, Emma's phone buzzed with a message from Jonah, her next-door neighbour and the only one who hadn't looked at her like she'd grown feathers. Herself. Jonah, you should see this. HOA board members have a private group chat. It leaked. Attached was a screenshot from an anonymous tipster. It showed several board members mocking her rooster, calling it a weaponized alarm clock, and one message from Marla herself. We'll bury her in fines before she can blink. She'll be begging to get rid of that squawking thing. Emma leaned back in her chair, stunned. They weren't enforcing rules. They were orchestrating a takedown. That evening, she attended the monthly HOA meeting in person. The rec center was cold and overly lit. A fake pot of flowers in the center of the long conference table. Marla Thistle sat at the head, spine straight, lips tight. The moment Emma stepped in, the room went silent. I'd like to discuss the alleged violations against my chickens, Emma said evenly. Marla didn't even glance up. Livestock isn't allowed. You've already received 2 formal warnings. Emma held up her copy of the HOA bylaws. Livestock is never defined. Poultry is never mentioned. There's no noise decibel clause. You're issuing fines based on a non-existent rule. Marla finally looked up, eyes gleaming like polished stones. You're a new resident, Ms. Carter. Perhaps you don't understand how we do things here. Emma smiled politely. I understand perfectly. You bluff, intimidate, and manipulate your way into obedience. A few gasps echoed across the room. Someone chuckled. Jonah, seated quietly in the back, gave a small nod of approval. Marla's smile was thin and venomous. We'll let the penalties speak for themselves. Emma stepped out into the cold night air, heart thudding, but her resolve had hardened. This wasn't just about chickens. It was about people like Marla, thinking they owned others' peace. When she returned home, she found another envelope. Taped to her front door, inside was a single photo. A grainy zoomed-in shot of Colonel Cluxworth in his coop, and a note in block letters. Better quiet him, or we will. Emma didn't sleep that night. The photo and anonymous threat sat on her coffee table like a live grenade. Colonel Cluxworth remained in his coop, unaware that he had become the symbol of a suburban Cold War. By dawn, she had made a decision. She wasn't backing down. At 4:45 a.m. sharp, as if on cue, the colonel let out his majestic, earth-shattering crow. It rang across the neighborhood like a battle horn. This time, Emma was ready. She stood beside the coop, recording him on her phone, framing the trees, sunrise, and the proud little rooster, silhouetted like a hero returning from war. Then she uploaded it to TikTok with a caption, "Good morning to everyone. Except the HOA. Free the Cluck Hody Ranny Colonel Clucksworth." By 8 a.m., the video had 3,000 views. By noon, 30,000. Comments poured in. HOA versus Rooster. I'm 100% Team Rooster. Colonel Clucksworth is a legend. Merch, when? Ban HOA presidents, not chickens. Emma hadn't expected it to blow up, but it had, and it gave her the one thing she'd been missing. A voice bigger than the HOA's echo chamber. Later that day, Jonah knocked on her door, holding a small black box. "Security camera," he said. "Motion activated, with night vision. If they come again, we catch them." Emma blinked. "Why are you helping me?" Jonah hesitated. "Because the same board tried to ban my cousin's wheelchair ramp last. Yeah. They pick their targets." She thanked him, then climbed up to mount the camera overlooking the coop. That night, she slept with one eye open, and a second phone uploading Rooster content on a timer. Every hour. The next morning, a squadron of angry emails and HOA messages filled her inbox. Violation 129, B. Harassment by sound violation. 130, B. Public defamation of HOA leadership violation. 131, B. Unapproved surveillance installation. It was absurd. They were inventing offenses faster than she could read them. That evening, Emma stood outside as dusk fell, watching the trees ripple in the wind. Across the street, a car idled too long. A porch light flickered on, then off. Were they watching her? Plotting? Waiting? Her phone buzzed again. An anonymous email. Subject: important. Eyes are everywhere. You don't understand who you're up against. They don't just want the rooster gone. Check HOA file X17. Follow the money. And if Colonel Clucksworth crows again tomorrow, they'll make sure it's his last. Attached was a blurry spreadsheet. HOA funds. Unexplained maintenance expenses. Payments to shell companies. Emma's stomach dropped. Something deeper was happening. She printed the email and hid it in a hollowed-out book on her shelf, just in case. Later that night, she returned to the video. Colonel Clucksworth, mid-crow, his wings spread wide and eyes fierce. She paused it on the perfect frame. Heroic, ridiculous, and completely defiant. Then she created a new thumbnail. This rooster just declared war on my HOA. She hit upload. By morning, the video had crossed 200,000 views. Local news outlets started reaching out, but then Jonah texted her. "Camera caught something. You need to see this." Emma raced next door. On his screen was grainy night vision footage. 37 a.m. A figure approached her coop, hooded, moving with practiced silence. The person knelt down, reached into their jacket, and planted a small black device on the fence. They left just as quietly as they came. Emma stared at the screen. Voice. "Dry? What is that?" Jonah zoomed in. "Looks like a directional amplifier. It'll bounce and boost the sound. Make the crowing seem 10 times louder." Emma's blood ran cold. They're rigging your rooster to sound worse. Just to shut him down. Emma stood in the backyard at dawn, staring at the amplifier, now clenched in her hand. A thumb-sized black device, with tiny mesh speakers and a blinking red light. It was still warm. Whoever planted it had been close, watching. "What kind of people do this over a rooster?" she muttered. Colonel Clucksworth, unfazed by the rising tension, let out his usual majestic crow, but Emma noticed something different. His call was louder this time. Too loud. She turned in circles. hearing the echo bounce unnaturally off the surrounding fences. The amplifier worked, and if she hadn't caught it, it would have made her rooster sound like a screaming banshee. Enough to justify the HOA fines. Enough to make neighbors furious. Enough to get him banned. She ripped it off the fence and stormed inside, calling the HOA office again. Voicemail. Again. But this time, she left a message. I know someone planted sound manipulation equipment in my backyard. I have the footage, and I'm going public. You've crossed the line. Then she posted the video online. No names, just facts. A shadowy figure tampering with a private property co-op. Under the cover of night, the internet lit up. This is criminal. Sue them. Tell me again how chickens are the problem. You need to name and shame. Start with the HOA president. By evening, Emma's phone was buzzing non-stop. A local news station reached out asking for an interview. She agreed. They'd be at her place at 9 a.m. But when she stepped outside, that night for one last check on her birds, something was wrong. The coop was empty. Gone. The door to the enclosure hung open, its hinges swinging slightly in the breeze. No feathers, no claw marks, no sign of a break-in. Just emptiness. Emma dropped to her knees, crawling inside the pen, calling out, "Colonel! Girls! Come here!" Nothing. Not a sound. She checked the gate, still locked, but the latch had been unscrewed. Deliberately, cleanly, quietly. Someone had stolen her chickens. The realization hit her like ice water. This wasn't just about fines anymore. Someone had crossed a line, and they were escalating. She ran back inside, heart hammering. Called Jonah. They're gone. Someone took them. All of them. Jonah's voice on the other end was grave. I'm checking my feed now. Hold on. She waited, pacing. Jonah cursed. The cameras got scrambled. Just static between 1:38 and 2:15 a.m. That's when they did it. They knew we had cameras, Emma said. They knew exactly when to strike. And whoever it was, they hadn't just snatched birds. They'd sent a message. Emma sat down, staring at the empty coop through the kitchen window. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A voicemail. She played it. Distorted static. Then a garbled voice. You don't know what he means to them. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. Click. Emma replayed the message 3 times. The words didn't make sense. What he means to them? Who was them? And more importantly, why would anyone care that much about one rooster? The next morning, Emma stood outside her coop with the news crew, doing her best to stay composed. She explained the harassment, the sabotage, and now the theft. The anchor, a young woman named Alyssa, leaned in. Do you have any idea who might have done this? Emma paused. I have suspicions, but I'll say this. If they think I'm going away quietly, they've underestimated both me and the Colonel. She looked at the camera with fire in her eyes. This isn't just about chickens anymore. This is about power. Just as the crew started packing up, Emma's phone buzzed again, this time with a photo attachment. She opened. It dot Colonel Cluxworth, perched in a wire cage. Behind him, a garage wall covered in floral wallpaper, and spray-painted across the wall in red. Property of Willow Ridge Board. Do not remove. Emma enlarged the photo on her screen, examining every detail. Colonel Cluxworth looked unharmed, but ruffled and agitated. The cage he was trapped in sat on linoleum flooring with a scuffed baseboard and, strangely, decorative floral wallpaper. That wallpaper triggered a memory. She'd seen it before at the last HOA meeting behind the snack table, in the basement of the Willow Ridge Community Center. Emma grabbed her coat and stormed outside. Jonah was already waiting by his truck. Engine running. You got the photo? He asked, already knowing the answer. They're holding him at the community center, she said. And they were arrogant enough to mark him property of the board. Jonah's jaw clenched. We'll get him back. Under the veil of a foggy morning, they parked 2 blocks away and approached the building on foot. The community center sat empty. No lights on, no cars in the lot. Emma tried the back door. Locked. Jonah knelt by the side panel. Good news. I used to work maintenance. Know a few tricks. 2 minutes later, they slipped inside. The basement door creaked open slowly. A flickering light revealed the floral wallpaper and something far stranger. An entire makeshift holding area, lined with storage cages. In one, a confiscated trampoline. In another, a garden gnome. And in the very last cage, Colonel Cluxworth. He stood proudly despite his confinement, like a captured general who refused to surrender. When he saw Emma, he gave a low, emotional cluck. She rushed over and yanked open the latch. Hey, buddy. I'm so sorry. Just as they freed him, footsteps echoed overhead. Doors slammed. They're here, Jonah whispered. We need another way out. They crept to a side stairwell and pushed through the exit into the woods behind the center. Colonel Cluxworth rode under Emma's coat, motionless. Once safe at home, they tucked the rooster back into his coop. Emma reinforced the lock. Then she turned to Jonah. We need to expose them. All of it. The sabotage, the illegal fines, the secret storage cages. They took property from residents. Jonah nodded. Let's burn the whole corrupt empire down. Emma uploaded a new video. They kidnapped my rooster. She showed the photo, the floral wall, the secret cage room, then the rescue footage. This isn't about chickens anymore. This is about how far a board of unelected tyrants will go to control a neighborhood. And we've had enough. The internet exploded. By noon, Free Colonel Cluxworth was trending nationwide. People across the country posted their own HOA horror stories. News outlets picked up the story. A legal firm reached out offering pro bono representation. That evening, Emma received an email from a burner account. Subject: You should have stayed quiet. They weren't supposed to act without full board approval. There are 5 members. Only 3 signed off on the takedown. 1 dissented. 1 went dark. Ask what happened to board member 5. Kenneth Phelps. Emma paused. She didn't recognize that name. She scoured the HOA site. No mention, no photo, no recent meeting logs. The last known document listing all 5 board members was dated 6 months ago. Since then, only 4 had been present at meetings. 1 had vanished. The board didn't just target her. They'd buried someone on their own side, and now they were running out of places to hide. Emma sat in front of her laptop at midnight, the glow of the screen reflecting in her eyes. Her search for Kenneth Phelps had hit dead ends. The HOA website no longer listed him, and her inbox was flooded with messages of support, threats, and tips. Some helpful, others downright unhinged. One anonymous email stood out. Kenneth tried to expose Marla last fall. He filed a report with the state HOA regulatory board. A week later, he resigned. No statement, no forwarding address. Find the resignation letter. Emma took a deep breath. This wasn't just about chickens or sound complaints anymore. She was caught in something deeper, a system designed to silence dissenters. She emailed the state HOA board, but Jonah had a faster idea. My aunt's a notary who helped archive some HOA docs, he said. She might have a copy of that letter. That afternoon, they visited Jonah's Aunt Diane, who lived just 2 neighborhoods over. A sharp-eyed woman with an intimidating filing system. She went straight to work. Phelps, Kenneth. Here. She pulled a hard copy letter from a beige folder marked Willow Ridge HOA 2024. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she took it. It read, "To whom it may concern, I, Kenneth Phelps, formally resign from the Willow Ridge HOA board, effective immediately. This decision comes after multiple incidents in which procedural violations, fund misallocations, and unethical surveillance actions have occurred without board consensus or documentation. I do not wish to be complicit in these actions." KP Emma's heart pounded. This wasn't just a resignation, it was a warning. And the date? October 17th, 2024. The same week Marla had suddenly taken full control of the HOA. Jonah whistled low. He tried to blow the whistle and disappeared. They scanned the local paper archives. Nothing. No moving notice. No obituary. No interview. Kenneth Phelps had been erased. Emma made copies of the letter and forwarded them to every journalist who had covered her story. Then, in an act of bold defiance, she uploaded a video titled, "The Board Erased One of Their Own." She held up the letter, read it out loud, laid it bare. Kenneth Phelps warned the world, and like my rooster, they tried to silence him. But we won't let them. I'm calling for an emergency election and the removal of the current board. The video went viral instantly. Within 48 hours, Emma had interviews booked with Channel 5, The Daily Dispatch, and even a live podcast. Legal experts chimed in. If true, this is HOA misconduct on a criminal level. Emma Carter has every right to request an emergency vote of no confidence. Then came the call. Unknown number, local. Emma answered. A man's voice, low and shaking. "You don't know me. I can't talk long, but I'm Kenneth." Emma froze. "Kenneth Phelps, where are you? Are you safe?" "Safe enough." I had to vanish. After I filed that letter, my car was tampered with. My mail was stolen. I knew too much. I went off-grid. But I've been watching you. You've done more than I could. Emma gripped the phone tight. "We can fight this. With your help, we can end this. I'm not ready to come back, but I'll send you something. It's proof. What they were planning for the entire neighborhood. You were just the test case." The line went dead. 2 hours later, a package arrived on Emma's porch. No name, no return address. Inside, a flash drive. She plugged it in and opened the only file on it, an audio recording, board meeting, secret session. Marla's voice clear as a bell. "Once we kick out the loud ones, we'll implement phase 2. Price them out. Control everything. From landscaping to rent. We reshape Willow Ridge into what we want. No more dissent. No more roosters. Just order." Emma hit pause. She looked outside to the coop, where Colonel Cluxworth stood tall, proud and free. "They picked the wrong bird," she whispered. "And the wrong homeowner." The next morning, Emma stood in front of a full town hall meeting, gripping the microphone with steady hands and fire in her voice. They called it Phase 2, a plan to price us out, to control everything. Our land, our leases, our voices. But it started with this. She held up a printed photo of Colonel Cluxworth in his cage, a red circle drawn around the words, "Property of Willow Ridge Board." Gasps echoed through the room. Neighbors leaned forward in their chairs. Even some of the long complacent residents were wide-eyed now. The chickens were a test. So was I. They tampered with sound, broke into my yard, stole my animals, and tried to frame me as a neighborhood menace. Jonah stepped up beside her, holding the flash drive. "We have audio of the board's private meeting," he said. "Proof they plan to inflate fees, install rent restrictions, and intimidate non-compliant homeowners. Then Emma dropped the final bomb. We have a witness, board member Kenneth Phelps. He's alive, in hiding, and he left behind a paper, trail, resignation letters, reports to the state, and his warning they were consolidating power, eliminating opposition, and weaponizing HOA policies for personal gain. The crowd erupted. Shouts, murmurs, demands. Someone yelled, "Impeach the board!" Marla Wilkins, current HOA president, stood at the back of the room, arms crossed, an expression sour. Emma pointed directly at her. "You authorized the abduction of my animals, denied public access to financial records, and erased a fellow board member. Your reign is over." Marla's face twitched. She stepped forward, microphone in hand. "These accusations are baseless and, frankly, libelous. This is nothing but a chicken lady conspiracy built on hearsay and internet drama." Emma held up her phone and pressed play. The audio clip filled the room. "Once we kick out the loud ones, we'll implement phase 2. The room fell silent. Marla's face paled. Then chaos. People shouted. Someone from the back threw a rolled-up HOA newsletter. Others demanded to review budgets, vote on removal, call lawyers. It was a full-blown mutiny. By the end of the hour, a petition to dissolve the current board had 147 signatures, well over the 80 required for a special vote. Jonah smiled. "We just triggered an emergency recall." That night, Emma sat beside the coupe, flashlight in hand. Colonel Cluxworth perched on the top rail, feathers puffed out like a little general, surveying a battlefield reclaimed. She reached over and gently scratched his neck. "We might actually win, you know." The rooster clucked softly. Then her phone rang. Kenneth again. "It's not over, Emma," he said. "They'll push back. I heard Marla's planning a counterstrike. Legal action, smear campaigns, maybe more." Emma sighed. "Let them try. We're ready. Be careful. I know her kind. She doesn't lose easily. Neither do I." She ended the call and walked back inside, feeling the first calm she'd had in weeks. But it didn't last long. An alert pinged her inbox. Urgent legal notice. HOA action filed. She opened the PDF for Carter versus Willow Ridge. HOA alleging defamation, harassment, unauthorized surveillance, and incitement of public disorder. Marla was suing. Her, Emma laughed, not out of amusement, but disbelief. The desperation reeked from every paragraph. Jonah texted seconds later, "We're countersuing, and we've got a pro bono legal team lining up. The internet's on your side." But then, another message came. Anonymous. A single photo. Colonel Cluxworth. Taken through her backyard fence. Tonight. Caption. Last chance. The coupe burns next. Emma's breath caught. She stepped outside slowly. The wind was still, no movement. But in the distance, she heard it again. The echo of a low, eerie cluck. The war wasn't over. It was just changing tactics. Emma didn't sleep that night. She sat in a lawn chair beside Colonel Cluxworth's reinforced coupe, floodlights blazing. Her phone was in one hand, a baseball bat in the other. If the HOA, or whoever was behind that threat, wanted a war, they were going to get one. At 2:43 a.m., a motion sensor pinged. She stood instantly. Her camera feed showed a figure in a hoodie, slinking along the side fence. Not this time. Emma hit the siren app, and a blaring alarm lit up the entire backyard. Colonel Cluxworth let out a war cry that shook the neighborhood. The intruder flinched, stumbled, and darted toward the side gate, straight into Jonah, who tackled him with precision, honed from years of high school football. When they pulled back the hood, Emma stared into a familiar face. Craig Dunn, Marla's second-in-command on the board. "Well, well," Emma said, breathless but smiling. "Trying to burn down some evidence," Craig snarled. "You're ruining everything. This place was supposed to be orderly. No noise, no animals, no freaks like you stirring up the herd. Order isn't tyranny," she shot back. "And chickens aren't the enemy." Police arrived. Minutes later, Jonah had called them while Emma confronted Craig. They cuffed him and took him away under charges of trespassing, attempted arson, they found the lighter fluid, and conspiracy to harass. And it didn't stop there. With the flash, drive, Kenneth's letter, the break-in footage, and now Craig's failed attack. The final domino fell. The state HOA Oversight Committee opened a formal investigation into Willow Ridge. Marla was subpoenaed. When news broke, residents poured into the streets, waving signs with slogans like, "We stand with the Colonel," "Peck the board," "Cluck." Around and find out. A week later, the emergency election was held. Emma didn't run for president. She didn't want the crown, but she nominated someone she trusted. Ms. Evelyn Brooks, a retired teacher with a spine of steel and no patience for bureaucratic games. Evelyn won by a landslide. Marla, disqualified from ever serving on a community board again. As for the chickens, Emma had a surprise in store. She held a small press conference in front of the coop, where Colonel Clucksworth stood proudly on a custom podium. "I'm proud to announce that, thanks to new bylaws passed under the Fair Urban Agriculture Clause, backyard chickens are now permanently protected in Willow Ridge, and I'm officially registering Colonel Clucksworth as the first honorary mascot of the neighborhood." The Colonel gave a single, triumphant crow at the exact right moment. Emma swore he timed it on purpose. A month later, Kenneth Phelps resurfaced, joining the new HOA as an advisor. Quiet, reserved, but smiling. "I never thought I'd see this. Place free again," he told Emma. "You did what none of us could," Emma smiled back. "You just needed a louder rooster." The story reached national attention, spawning documentaries, podcasts, and even a children's book titled Clucksworth Saves the Neighborhood. But Emma never cared about the fame. She cared about her home, and as she sat in the evening sun, listening to the gentle clucks and flutters in the coop, she whispered to the Colonel, "We won, buddy." The Colonel fluffed his feathers and gave one final glorious crow, the kind that woke up a neighborhood and never let it sleep on injustice again.